I'm Lynette Zang, CEO and founder of Zang Enterprises. And of course, you guys all know my very favorite question, which is how many times can you be lied to when you do not know the truth? And then the next part of that is how quickly you learn the truth. Because this past Friday, citizens in Zimbabwe went to sleep at night with 100 ZiG, the Zimbabwe gold currency in the bank, and they woke up the next morning to discover that now they only had 58 ZiG in the banks. But guess what? Salaries didn't change and debts didn't change. So make sure, this is such an important video. You guys know I'm following Zimbabwe because it is a real-time example of what happens when confidence is lost. And what did they do? Well, they put a component of gold to try and get the confidence back. How much confidence you think they have now? So let us know your thoughts in the comments section. Let's talk about this. Any questions at all, this is really important because you know why they did that overnight devaluation, aside from the fact that the black market was forcing it? Oh, to ensure that inflation expectations remain well anchored, as well as dissipate current inflationary pressures. Wait a minute. The promise was that they would not print more money than whatever gold they held in deep storage and other currencies. But you might recall, as we've been following this story all along, I couldn't ever find out the specifics. So let's move forward with this because frankly, the lie has been revealed. If you cannot convert the currency into the physical gold and take it out of the system, they can always lie to you. And that's exactly what they've been doing. So panic as ZiG is devalued. Well, a lot of the population didn't even convert it yet, but let's see what happens to the man on the street. The Zimbabwean local currency called the ZiG has been officially devalued by 44%. That means that they printed a whole bunch of more ZiG to do that devaluation because this is the tool that they have. And the only difference between inflation and hyperinflation is the speed of that inflation, but they're not in hyperinflation yet because they only devalued at 44%, and officially hyperinflation is 50%. I'm pretty sure the citizens did not like that. But they have moved interest rates from 20% to 35%. I don't know, you borrowing at 20%? Come on. This means that if you wanted to buy US $1,000 worth of ZiG yesterday, you needed 14,000 ZiG. But today, you need 25,000 ZiG. So it takes more dollars, Zimbabwe dollars, to buy the same thing. Who is going to carry that major exchange rate burden? It is you. That is the huge cost of state corruption and the looting of public funds using the central bank. It punishes you. And if you think that is just relegated to places like Zimbabwe, you really need to think again, because the only difference between inflation and hyperinflation is the speed of that inflation. How would you feel if you woke up tomorrow and instead of $100 in the bank, you had 58? But guess what? Your salary didn't change and your debt didn't change. Citizens, economists, and trade unions have voiced their outrage, accusing the government of worsening the already dire economic situation, which of course the new currency was supposed to fix. But it didn't, because once confidence is lost, it is almost impossible to regain. The devaluation, which saw the official exchange rate to the US dollar plummet, has effectively wiped out nearly half the value of salaries and savings that are held in local currency. Guess what, you guys? This is local currency. This is my what is it? 10 trillion Zimbabwe dollar note that has no value. But guess what? This is sound money currency. This is sound money currency. They can't do that. This is universal currency. This is not local currency. But it's good everywhere and anywhere in the world. Need to really keep that in mind. And what are they saying? The public is going, wait, the government must adjust the ZIG salaries following the currency devaluation. You know, I think it's really interesting that for a little while, citizens in Zimbabwe could buy the 1 ounce gold coins. We've talked about this, right? Well, who can afford that? Just the 1%, just the wealthy. So they got out of the way. When they issued the ZIG, all of a sudden, you couldn't get a physical 1 ounce gold coin anymore, because what did you have to worry about? We promised that we are not going to print more than the gold we have in deep storage. But to try and ferret that information out, even on the central bank website, virtually impossible. Don't we have an increase in gold reserves this is at the central bank in Zimbabwe? Hasn't the international gold price reached an all-time high? And what should be the impact on the exchange rate on our gold-backed currency? Where are the calculations that were done at the launch of the ZIG? I kept asking that. I've asked that to you, right? If you don't hold it, you don't own it. And if you can't convert it, you have no power. We need to take our power back. We need sound money. That is the battle that we're all facing. I don't care where you are in the world. We all have the same issues with government abuse of the printing press because they don't have any more tools. Do you want to be directly in that line of fire? Or do you want to get the Hades out and hold your purchasing power? If you do not have a strategy in place and you don't have it executed, you scan that what is that called again? The what? QR code. The QR code, sorry, you know, all this technology. But scan that technology. I'm sorry, I'm really excited about this. And you can probably tell because this is something we've been talking about I've been talking about Zimbabwe since 2006. This is now the sixth iteration of a new currency. But Insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. And then as I was scrolling, I found this. And I thought, I'm getting chills. Yeah, because what does it say? But what can I do? I am just one person, said 7 billion people. Come together in community. Let's have a quiet, peaceful revolution. Just by becoming your own central bank and demanding sound money. If enough of us do this in the world, we will have a shot at commanding a seat at the table in the new currency. And if I'm sitting there on your behalf, then I'm going to demand that it is convertible. Because back in the day in the US, when you could walk into any bank with this and walk out with this is the tool to hold government's toes to the fire. And what real gold backing a currency, as long as it's convertible, that requires fiscal responsibility. And what we just saw happen in Zimbabwe yet again cannot happen. That's why they took us off the gold standard to begin with, because they wanted to inflate away the value of the currency in an invisible inflation tax so that the 1% could make a whole lot more money. This is that income and wealth inequality. And all we really have to do is say no. And all we have to do to say no is convert our garbage fiat that they do control into physical gold and silver that is used in every single sector of the global economy. It is global money. This is local money. All of these, local money. Easy to inflate away its value. And if they do it slow enough, like that 2% inflation target, you're volunteering, you're working your wealth, and you don't even realize it. But if they do it overnight, like they just did again in Zimbabwe, you know it. Why aren't we out there complaining? But one more time. Because, you know, I always look in the mirror and I go, if not me, who? And if not now, when? Well, I'm telling you, it's all of us, because what can I do? I'm just one person. Said 7 billion people. I think that there are now a little bit more than 8 billion people in the world. We have a voice if we come together. Join this community. Give us a like, leave lots and lots of comments, have this conversation, because that's what helps the algorithm share this information, and this information is critical for all of us to know. All of us. Because the whole point of this real-time experiment in attempting to get that confidence back, it's happening. Coming to a theater near you. It isn't, oh, this is Zimbabwe. That could never happen here. Yes, it has. 3 times. 3 times it's happened here. Just not in yours and my lifetime. And they're doing the same thing. Look at the purchasing power chart. The only difference, I know, I'm sorry I'm being so redundant, but I really need you to get this. You need to get this. The only difference between inflation and hyperinflation is the speed of that inflation. And if stock markets go down, if real estate markets go down, if bond markets go down, that's deflation. And there's only one way to fight deflation, and that's with inflation. And we had Fed Chair Powell. Oh, now he's being hawkish. He's trying to walk. I mean, it's just such garbage. This is the very end of the currency's life cycle. Get ready. Click that link. Get your strategy in place. Get it executed. Become your own central bank. Join the sound money movement wherever you are in the world. Let's make this happen. And maybe not for ourselves. I mean, I'm old, but my children, my grandchildren, your grandchildren, you. Why? Why is this okay? If you stay in intangibles, then you're agreeing to this. And if you say, oh, no, I'm not agreeing, but you don't do anything about it, you're agreeing to it. How many times can you be lied to when you do not know the truth? Do you recognize the truth when you see it? Because it doesn't matter if it's in Zimbabwe or the US or China. Take your pick. Take your pick. We are all in the same boat. Here, my friends, these are your life preservers. Please, please, please do this while you can. Convert your garbage fiat into sound money while you can. Get your strategy in place. Make sure that you have security in food, water, energy, security itself, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. Community most important. Local, so that you can create security in all those other areas. Global, so that we have a seat at the table in this new system. And now I will take questions. So Randy Welchel asks, The entire argument is invalid. It's Zimbabwe. You cannot base an entire argument of one incident of a backwater country. Okay, Randy, well, are you aware that when we went into the War of 1812, the Civil War, as well as 1933, that gold was confiscated in this country and we dealt with hyperinflation 3 times? So are we a backwater? And that's always where the test is, because exactly what you said, you can't base it on Zimbabwe. That's over there. This is here. But look at the Fed balance sheet. Aren't they doing the same darn thing? Are we set up where I can pull that up? Can I pull that up?
Pull what up again, sorry?
Can I pull up a Fred chart?
Should be able to, yes.
Okay, I hate it when sometimes the mouse does not work. Okay, let me show you what I'm talking about, right? Because I don't ever want you to take my word for anything. I really want you to just do your own due diligence. Okay, first of all, this is the first chart that came up. Yes?
Do you have it pulled up?
Yeah, where do I? Yes, I have it.
Great, give me just 1 second.
Okay.
For a second.
Okay. All these little coins are like all over the place. Oh, I love that I'm going to be able to do this now because I can answer these questions so much easier.
And you have it pulled up right now, right?
I have it pulled up right now. Now I don't have it on the PowerPoint.
Got it. You have it somewhere else?
I have it in Chrome. I have it pulled up. See, it's pulled up.
Your PowerPoint is still active though, right?
Oh, do I need
Yes,
to?
you do.
No, it's shut down.
Oh, it is shut down?
It's shut down.
Jeez. Probably should have tested this before we did this.
Yeah, because I'm going to want to do this all the time now. Because this helps me show you what I'm saying, even if I didn't put it in there. Yeah, you did have it working just fine. All right.
Sorry.
Well,
Sorry. Yeah, because
I mean, it's not going to show on that one.
It's not going to show right now because we launched in the PowerPoint. It's not going to. It's configured to PowerPoint. So if you unplug the computer, plug it back in, it should work. But I don't want you to do all that.
You don't want me to do all that?
No, don't do all that. Don't do all that.
Because then we probably. You know what?
You can do whatever you want. You're the boss.
Can I try that?
Absolutely.
Because otherwise we're just kind of sitting here wasting everybody's time, and everybody's time is like so valuable. Did that help?
We're gonna find out here in 2 seconds.
It just did something.
There we go. Of course not. No, it didn't help.
No, it didn't help.
No.
Okay, so give me the questions again, and I will just do it verbally, but then we can put the links in too, so you can go there. So Randy, what I really want you to do is go into the Federal Reserve Education Department, the FRED, and put in there 2 things, right? The first one, look at the purchasing power of the consumer dollar. Put that in the search bar. This is not me saying it. This is not Zimbabwe. This is the US, and this is official, which means it probably is actually worse than what you're looking at. But you'll notice on the left-hand side that there's a big fat 0 there, because 100% of the time, all of these currencies have gone to 0, right? And more, over 4,800. Then I want you to put in Fed debt in the search bar. And you're going to see that it just keeps growing and growing and growing. So we've lost officially over 97% of the purchasing power value of the currency. What once took like $3 to buy a food basket now takes something like, I don't know, I just did this, so don't hold me to the numbers because I don't have them in front of me. Now takes something like $79 to buy. Did the food get more expensive, or did the currency get less valuable? It doesn't matter where this is happening, and it doesn't matter what the speed of which it is happening, but it is happening in every single country, and there are 196 countries on our planet. There's 196 countries. The same thing is happening in every single country, including the advanced economies. We are not immune to this, and the laws of economics works anywhere you are in the world. So I'm following Zimbabwe because they're the first ones to do gold to attempt to regain that confidence in real time. And I've been following what's been happening in Zimbabwe since 2006 when they first entered their hyperinflationary phase. And I'm seeing a lot of parallels between what's happening in Zimbabwe and what's happening in the US. And that's why I go there. And I will go anywhere in the world if I can show you an example of what we are likely to see right here. Maybe the timing is different, but it's the same thing. It is. Ignore it at your risk and at your peril. I'm not ignoring it. Can I have the questions, please?
Yep.
Okay. Booch asks, could you give an explanation regarding the historical gold to silver ratio versus the current likely fake one? Well, remember, because I've got it right here, right? So back in the day when they first were creating the money and we had sound money as part of this, right? Here's a $1 gold coin. It's a 1/20th of an ounce. This is, all right. Okay, well, apparently I've used the other one. But this is a 1 ounce silver coin. These were equal, so a 20-to-1 ratio. Now, today, and it kind of runs like that, except that today we've got, I don't even know where it is right now, something like 87-to-1 or something in that vicinity. So a lot of people thinking of this as a trade thinks that silver will outperform it's actually spot silver will outperform gold because that 20-to-1, that ratio will get more and more and more narrow. And it likely will because historically that's what it always shows. But as we get closer and start to enter in the hyperinflation, then that gap will grow wider and wider and wider again. But let's just say that spot silver hits its fundamental value somewhere around $2,000. Let me tell you, when that happens, you are not going to want to convert this into this because you're going to be very well aware of how quickly this is losing money at that point. So personally, I look at functionality. What am I trying to accomplish? And then I move in that direction. The other point that I'd like to point out, and I'm going to make a note of it because I just did it recently when I did a video on the food, was the beginning of September, I think. And what I did was go into the Bureau of Labor Statistics and pull up a food basket in 1913 and then pull up 1913 and then pull up the food basket, the most current one, just before I did that. And what I discovered looking from spot to spot is that the silver had maintained your ability to buy that same food basket. And it was up, I think the food basket was up something like 2,500%. And then the spot silver was up like 2,900%. But spot gold was up 12,000%. So not only does it maintain your ability to purchase the same goods and services, but it gives you that much more, and therefore it enables an opportunity to convert into income-producing assets when right now those are severely overvalued, but they will become undervalued. And we will see the pattern, that cup formation, that accumulation pattern when the smart money has recognized that they're undervalued. Not undervalued yet, but going back to the gold and silver ratio, I know a lot of people talk about that, but I don't look at gold and silver as a trade, ever. I look at gold and silver as insurance. I look at it as opportunity positioning, and I look at it as my protection and safety net against these governments and central bankers whose job is to inflate your wealth away and get you to cooperate, because it happens, if they can make it happen slowly enough, they get what they want, but you don't even know it. Well, How many times can you be lied to when you do not know the truth? Every single time. And Kamfet Busana, Lynette, with all the war tensions escalating and consumption of silver disappearing, will we see silver value increase in demand, being that it has been in deficit for a few years already? Yes, but you see, Wall Street can create as many paper ounces of silver and ounces of gold as they want to, and that is about manipulating your perception. But geopolitics, especially with what's happening today in the Middle East, in Ukraine and Russia, I mean, geopolitics is huge. And yes, you will see them both going up because, you know, and the difference between gold and silver is gold is recoverable. Silver evaporates into the ethosphere as they use it. So silver has been in a huge deficit, but not in the paper silver market. So they can continue to manipulate that because they really don't want you piling into sound money. If you pile into sound money, when you take it out of this junk or this junk and you put it into sound money, they lose control over you. That's not their goal. Their goal is to control you, absolutely. And so yes, I do think that we will see gold and silver will ultimately go to their fundamental value. They always do. It's a guarantee that I can give you because it always happens. And Nathan Hunt asks, hi Lynette, hi Nathan, how long do you think until the same thing happens in the United States? I gotta tell you, and if I could show you, I would, but back in the Fred, go to in the search bar, put the M2V. That's the money velocity, the number of times that money changes hands. I believe that we are already in the beginning phases of the hyperinflationary event. I also believe that with the recent Fed pivot and what's happening in the jobs market, remember, only one way to fight deflation, and that's with inflation. So I think that once this pivot really kicks into gear, and there's so many different things that are happening right now, I think that we are going to see the inflation that they think they tamed heat right back up again. They are between a rock and a hard place, and it's either inflation or inflation. But I think that we're already at the beginning stages. Do I think that we're gonna see it escalate to 50% before the end of this year? No, I don't, because we've got an election year. Timing is the biggest challenge. Hold on, let me ask. I think my magic 8 balls know better than me. Okay, magic 8 ball. Will the hyperinflation and the large price spikes happen in 2025? And it says, yes, definitely. Now, that's not me saying it. It's the magic 8 ball saying it. 2025, we'll see if that's true. But I do think that we are going to see, if not hyperinflation, in 2025, we'll have rapid inflation. I'm sure of that. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. And Mark Matthews, okay, I thought the ZIG was asset-backed. That's what they wanted you to think. How bad would it have been if it was not asset-backed? And should they have backed their currency with a larger amount of gold? No, they should have backed their currency with gold that was convertible, so that if you walked into the bank with a ZIG, you walked out with the gold. Because that, my friends, is the only way to make sure that it's the truth. Exactly, asset-backed. Why was it virtually impossible for me to find exactly what they were doing? How much of those assets were backed? What was the print to gold ratio? All that, I couldn't find it, and I was on that website a lot thinking, okay, maybe they'll post it now. No. They kept it really vague so they could do any darn thing they wanted. And the only reason why they said that it was asset backed and backed by gold and vowed to not print more than what they had, and by the way, forced their miners to sell 20% of their production in the local currency that's going to build those gold reserves. If you don't hold it, you don't own it, and if you can't convert it, don't believe it. It's a lie. And that's really what the point is that I want, because they're coming out with all of this asset-backed stuff, whether it's asset-backed cryptos or asset-backed, whatever it is. If you cannot convert it into the underlying real asset, how do you know that it's real? They lie, and that's their job. And then they lie some more. Do you believe their lies? Because if you do, there's this bridge in Brooklyn we should be talking about. Except that I'm a little more honest than that, and I wouldn't do that. But if you don't think that our government and central bank would sell us, the public, down the river, they already have. Sorry, they already have. In gold and silver, I trust. In my possession. I don't trust in their possession, but I do in my possession. And Kat Kondo asks, but isn't it prophesied that Zimbabwe's banknotes be worth a lot of money? Not that I've seen. This is nothing. It doesn't even have value as a piece of paper because they printed it on both sides. In Germany, they only printed the one side. The blank side, as a blank piece of paper, had more value than the note itself. I'm a trillionaire. A trillionaire. Except I can't buy anything with it. I can't even buy 3 eggs. And Julie Shumini asked, I looked it up and they call it the Zim, not the Zig. What am I missing here? The Zim is the old currency. The Zig is the 6th new currency that Zimbabwe has come out with to try and get you back in the system, to get the public to have confidence in the system so that they use the ZIG. And the ZIG stands for Zimbabwe Gold. And to your point, Julie, though, really, I mean, none of the currency converters that I work with were showing the ZIG. In fact, I couldn't find the ZIG itself anywhere. So you're going back to the Zim because that's still what's in the currency converters. But yeah, I mean, this is a new currency, just came out, I think it was April 8th, something like that. And gone. Didn't even make it a year. Is that 6 months? April, May, June, July, August, September.
5 months.
5 months. 5 flippin' months. It was not stable. They just wanted you to believe it. But we've been talking about it this whole time. And I told you, not getting adopted. They don't trust the government. No, I once had this client when I was a strategy specialist. And he was a pilot, so he worked for a couple, over his career, a few different airlines. And he had his pension taken away from him. This was a long time ago. It was either 2 or 3 times where his pension, this is guaranteed, defined benefit, right? That they modified it by whatever, 70%. I don't really remember the numbers. And he still didn't believe it. It's like, how many times do you have to be punched in the head before you go, ow, that hurts, stop doing it? So I can't really explain it, but I think if it quacks like a duck and it waddles like a duck and it lays eggs like a duck, probably a duck. And Amy Harrell asked, Lynette, with midst of the ports on strike, the whole eastern seaboard, like I think it's 36 ports, and trains not moving, how long can we hold out? Food and water. Oh my God, Amy, I'm so glad you asked that question. That is the point of the mantra. Food, water, energy, security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. Remember what happened in March and April of 2020. That is the importance of local community. Because if you're here in my neighborhood, I have those things and I share with my neighbors. Right? Because we have to come together and survive this. One person, that's like, I mean, I don't know why I didn't think of that myself, but when I saw that huge sign held up that said, but what can I do? I'm only one person. Right. You are only one person. But when we all come together, and this goes back to what's happening in the ports with the union strike in 36 ports, they have power. Now, I'm not making a judgment call right or wrong, and certainly the impact is we're going to feel the impact. But come together in local community. Because I put in 5 ponds on this property to make sure that I had water security in the middle of a desert, in the middle of drought, right? So find your community. Use this as a wake-up call. We're all going to feel this. Go to your local farmer's market. Meet the people that are creating your food. Maybe they have all of those other things. Give them some time, right? Give them some time of yours. Create that relationship. Can you see how critically important it is? This is why I keep talking about it. Yeah, I'm really glad you asked that, Amy. Thank you so much for that question. It was a great one. And North Georgia Prepper asks, oh, yeah, I wasn't in Georgia. I was in Alabama. Okay. Do you think the Fed will use the port strikes as an excuse to flood the system with liquidity? I think they will use every single opportunity to point a finger away from them when the reality is even in the port strike and the unions, they're coming together for more money because they can't afford to live, because this is all the Fed and all the global central bankers know what to do. And Arthur never has to go to the gym because he's got to pick up all this money all the time. I know, I was just thinking of that. Okay, Accidental Homestead asks, the question really centers on, is it a store of value? I'm not sure what you mean. If you're talking about the ZIG as a store of value, you want to talk about the dollar as a store of value? You want to talk about gold and silver as a store of value? 6,000 years of history have proven it. I mean, it's that simple. And Teaspoon P asks, how much Zimbabwe currency is needed to buy an ounce of gold now compared to before? Well, at least 44% more, right? And probably even more than that. But I couldn't find a chart on it to show you, and I looked. Wait, there was more to that question that I didn't. Just curious how it compares to before all their resets. You know, I can put more up with the currency resets, but this is what it looks like. They take something that has all intrinsic value. Why is this all intrinsic value? Because I say so? Heck no, I don't have that kind of power. It's all intrinsic value because it's used in every single sector of the global economy. So it has the broadest base of functionality of any asset out there, period, end of discussion. And therefore, it has the broadest base of demand. So they take something that's all intrinsic value, and they reset this that is not, has no intrinsic value. It's used in one place. And they reset this against that. And they print a whole lot more of these. And so that's how it works. And then what happens is gold goes like this. Okay, that's the way it happens. It's like overnight, straight up, straight up. So I couldn't find a chart on that, but I'll keep looking because, again, I couldn't find, even in the exchange rate conversions, I couldn't find the ZIG. All I have is the ZIM, and the ZIM hasn't been, that's demonetized. So it's it's really pretty interesting. Currencies, I've been studying this stuff since 1987, and I'm still curious and interested in it. That shows you it's really an interesting topic. And Stephanie, I mean, it's critical for all of us, really, because this is what we work for, right? Okay, Stephanie asks, my late husband left all my money in a trust. I'm sorry to hear of your loss, but what am I to do when CBDC is introduced? I cannot remove my money from the bank. Oh. Also, no precious metal purchases allowed. Oh, what to do? That's a tough one. That's really a tough one. I'd see what I could do if there's any way to break the trust, because bankers, first of all, that's dangerous because all they know are those fiat money products, period, end of discussion. And so if you have any wealth outside, then what you really need to do is properly diversify that. But I would hire a lawyer and see if I couldn't break the trust, to be honest with you. But that's time consuming, and I don't even know how much time we would have. But that's what I would do. And barring your ability to do that, anything that you have outside, if you can buy enough, and call us, we can calculate out how many ounces of gold, and then we can leverage that to make sure that if everything in your trust goes away and goes to zero, that this will rise up and recoup that. So there are strategies in place to recoup any fees, any taxes, any losses. But it's a tough one, and you know, it really is a tough one, and it's one that anybody that's got to set up a trust to leave to the future needs to grapple with. And I'm not saying that I haven't, but I would never in a million years allow a bank to be the trustee. Not in a million, billion, gazillion, under no circumstances would I allow that, because you have no choices, and they don't really even know how to work in your best interest. They only know how to work in what they are trained to sell. Ugh. I'm sorry, but if we can help you in any way, we are really happy to do that. Cool Brother G, where do rich people put their cash when they sell their stocks? Well, rich people, are they rich and smart, or are they rich and stupid? Because those are two different things. But if they're smart, whatever gains they have, whether it's stocks or cryptos, both intangible assets, they put it into hard, sound money, and they become their own central banker, and it becomes invisible, right? Invisible. If they're not so smart, they keep it in money markets, or maybe they buy treasuries, or they stay in fiat money products. So, William PMCD asks, hi Lynette, please any comment on platinum? Thank you. Platinum is primarily an industrial metal. And actually, Russia controls much of the platinum market, but it is not a monetary metal. Now, I do own some platinum because of the jewelry, and there was a time when platinum traded higher than spot gold, spot platinum higher than spot gold, and so I did have some coins at that point. But this is a monetary life cycle issue, and we're transitioning into a new money system. So that's why you see me focus on the primary currency metal, which is gold, and the secondary currency metal, which is silver. That's why you see me focus on those two. Do I like platinum? Is it more rare? Sure, but this is a currency life cycle issue, so I'm going to concentrate mostly on my currency metals. And Brenda Bunting asks, do you think they will confiscate our silver and gold? I don't think, even though in 33 they did confiscate both gold and silver, again, the difference between the two is that gold is recoverable. So they can account for 98% of it, which is one of the major reasons why it is the primary currency metal. Silver as the secondary metal really straddles both worlds between industrial and financial. And so even though gold is also used in industry, silver is used a bit more. Don't take the question away, please, until I'm done answering it. Yeah, in case I need to refer back to it. I don't think that they are going to confiscate silver, but understand that even though I'll own like things like this happens to be a 1 ounce Canadian maple leaf coin, and you know, I have a bunch of this, lots of monster boxes and stuff. I also have a bunch of constitutional silver, pre-64 dimes, quarters, half dollars, and dollars. So that helps me if they do or if they don't confiscate. I've got it both ways. It doesn't really matter. But it would be harder, I think, to confiscate the silver than it would the gold because they can't account for the silver. It gets used up in industry. I do think that they're going to confiscate the gold because the gold is what they reset the new currency against. And so it's the monetary gold. And the way the tool that I use to determine what gold do I buy is if I can hold it inside of an IRA. So just go to the IRS. They'll tell you if I can hold it inside of an IRA, I'm not buying it because that's where most people that own precious metals own it. And there's no administrator. If the government does choose to do an overt confiscation, there's no administrator that's going to go, oh no, we have to protect our clients. They're going to comply. This has the same gold weight, so does this. Same content, same gold weight, everything. And if it's raw, it's still going to be moving sort of like the same as bullion. But yet you can't hold that in. Why? Because the wealthy created a collectible area so that back in 33 when they took the gold away from the population, not from this small group of people that knew what in the world was really going on with our monetary system. And so I want to be in the category of those that write the laws or have the ability to influence those that write the laws. So the answer is yes. I do think there is likely to be an overt confiscation. We're certainly seeing that in different parts of the world. And they've been confiscating your wealth since the day you were born. Go back to that purchasing power chart. Put your birthday in. There's a place where you can actually specify dates. Put your birthday in. You'll see how much wealth they've confiscated from you personally since the day you were born. It's just hard for me to imagine, and I could be wrong. I like to do things, if I'm right, if I'm wrong, it doesn't matter, right? But, you know, I mean, it's hard for me to imagine that they're going to stop right at the very end after they've gotten most of your purchasing power. But, you know, if I'm right or wrong. Wolf asks, does the numismatic value of gold or silver coins have any influence on value? Yes, it does. And the collectible market is a true supply and demand market. Whereas if you're looking at, okay, like this is an American Eagle, right? That's going to follow the spot market. There will be times that the premium's going to move up, again, depending on supply and demand, but it's so easy for them to create as much gold and silver as they want to that does not nor ever will exist. And so it's the spot market will influence your bullion, whereas it doesn't have, depending upon that quality and rarity, it doesn't have the same kind of influence on these. You know, if there is higher population, in other words, more that are known to exist out there in the world that have been graded, and there are fewer blemishes, right? Goes from mint state 60 to mint state 70, 60 having the most blemishes, 70 having virtually no blemishes. Because remember, back prior to 1933, this was the money. This was the money. So when they created it, they would have thrown it in a vault, maybe thrown it in a pouch. I mean, they're not being careful with it because they weren't thinking about it as a collectible. So yes, the mint state and the population, the quality, it's all the same gold content. So that doesn't factor in here at all, period. But it is the amount of blemish and the amount that are known to exist in the world that will determine the demand and the price. This is kind of like an auction, and I know I'm kind of going on about this a little bit, but bear with me in here. Let's say you go into an auction, and on the table there are 10 people at this auction, and on the table there's 10 billion coins, and everybody wants one. Okay, wherever the auction opens up, that's what everybody's going to pay, and they'll all walk away happy. But let's say in that same auction there's one of these on the table, and all 10 people want it. Well, then the bidding begins, and whoever outbids everybody else, they walk away with it, but you still had 9 other people that wanted it. So you have that market when availability comes again, but that also pushes the price up a lot higher. And there are historic ratios to see that, which I show you in, have I done one on this yet? I did before, I've done this before. But that's what's going to move the price. The collectible market is a pure demand supply market. And I recently put this out. And so if you call us at 833-GLDZANG, talk to one of our strategy specialists, and they can do a better breakdown than I can do just in this live, and they can help you understand if spot moves a certain level, what is the most likely move, what's the historic move for the collectibles, okay? And that's how we determine, well, first we put your goals out. What are you trying to accomplish, right? Because I can tell you, it should always be the right tool for the job. I have hammered in a nail into my wall to hang a picture with the back of my shoe. But when I've had a hammer, it just worked faster, better, cleaner, neater. So it's the right tool for the job. Your goals always have to drive what you're trying to accomplish. And then whatever it is, whether it's your barterable position, which you gotta have, whether it's your cash position, whether it's your growth position, whether it's to pay off a mortgage or some other fixed rate loan, whether it's to plan for a college education down the road, whether it's to make sure that you can pay your property taxes. I mean, just have that conversation with us, and we will show you the different tools that will support your goals, and we'll explain to you why and how that happens. And we're with you the whole way, and we even help you mark everything so that it's quite clear, oh, this isn't a legacy coin, this is to pay off my mortgage, right? We want you to be really, and you even get a booklet. I don't know if we're quite ready for that yet, but we're working on it, so don't hold me to that one. But we are working on it. So we're going to give you every tool that we can think of to help you make educated choices always, and you're putting your goals first. That's the way it has to be, period. It's the way it has to be. And Jez Bass asks, how many people per 1,000 are thinking about using coins in the future as money again in your estimation? Well, I don't exactly know that, but what I do know, and what even recent history has shown, is that when we go into hyperinflation and everybody understands how quickly this is losing value, then shopkeepers or service providers, unless they don't have a choice, do not want this. Mostly what they want is for day-to-day purchases, they want this. And for larger purchases, they want this, because they're very aware of what's happening to the fiat money. So things get very, very local at first, right? You have to have the ability to barter. Barterability is, I have silver primarily as barterability, but food, water, anything that's physical, that holds its value better than the currency, anything, any talent that you have, that's all barterable too. So when the crisis first hits and the public recognizes it, number one, that's when I'm out to my bug out. But things get very, very local. And that's why it's so important for you to develop that local community now while we still have the chance. Because even my good friend George Gammon, when he went to South America and was testing, in their hyperinflation, testing Bitcoin and testing gold and testing silver, right? He did best when he was working with his community. That's when he did the best because they knew him. So develop that community on a local basis and do it as quickly as possible. Go to community gardens, go to meetup groups, go to farmers markets, go where the people that create your food are and build that community and do it ASAP. And on Full and Wider asks, so how much collectible silver and gold is available to buy? Can you buy it by the ton like the banks do or not? I like to explain that. Well, we have, I've been around in this industry for a really long time, as are our wholesalers. They've been around forever and they have a global network. So I think the largest single transaction that I've done at one time was I think it was about 5 or 6 million. And that took 2 or 3 days to complete the entire transaction. So yes, you can buy at this moment as much as you want. And I believe that we have our network that would not inhibit any amount that you want to position into. We are ready. Call us, 833-GLD-ZANG, and we'll work with you to first develop your strategy based upon your goals, and then we'll be able to position you no matter how big or how small it is. We think absolutely every single person on the planet needs to have gold and silver, sound money as a foundation, and then all the other parts of the mantra: food, water, energy, security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter. And Chris Willis asks, what would you expect a metals broker to do? PJR? What's PJR? Could you spell that out? Question is, do you trust Lynette and team motives? It appears not. Well, I don't know if that's really true, because fortunately, thank you to all of you here, and thanks to what's been happening in our firm, people do trust me. I've been around and I've proven everything. My nickname is Data Gal. If I can't prove it, I'll tell you this is my opinion. Have you taken the time to follow the links? Have you taken the time to read the work from the IMF, the BIS, the Federal Reserve, the FDIC, the WEF, the UN? Have you gone onto the Federal Reserve's Fred? So, and by the way, you might have noticed that I use mainstream media when I'm showing you a headline. Dig deeper. You can do the research as well. If you follow all those links, or you do a deep dive into the research and you draw a different conclusion than I do, I can't say that your opinion is less valid than mine. It's your opinion. You're entitled to it. It's also why I like to talk to a variety of people, because I think that everybody needs to hear a whole lot of opinions. I would say that the difference between me and others and our team and other teams is that we take the time to do the research and we give you the links to hold our toes to the fire. You got to do what you got to do. And I say this all the time. You have to do what you are comfortable. I'm going to do my best to give you the tools and the research so that you have the ability to make educated choices that puts your goals first. Who else is really doing that? I don't know.
Let me say real quickly, first off, sorry, Chris. That question, he was actually defending you against someone else in the comments.
Oh.
Sorry, Chris.
Thank
I appreciate
you,
you,
Chris.
man.
Thank
Love
you
you.
very
Appreciate
much.
you being here. But someone else asked, Lauren Stern, I'm sorry if I'm getting the name wrong. Why can't we know the cost of the strategy sessions beforehand? What is the cost?
Free.
That's right.
We feel so strongly that everybody needs to own gold and silver that we give you the strategy for free. And by the way, because this is critical, I just did a video that'll probably come out either Thursday or Saturday on the hidden fees in your retirement plans, right? We reveal everything and we earn it. So you may not like it, but we're going to be upfront and honest with you. And on the way in and the way out and all the way in between. But the strategy is free because we want you to have, wherever you are in the world, it might have to be tweaked a little bit if you're not in the US, but the strategy is basically the same for everybody, no matter where you live.
Yeah, and just, Chris was defending against PJR. PJR is saying that there's nothing new and exciting here. PGR is saying that what you have to say, you have been listening to for a few years. You're a broken record. So that's kind of where we're at. Appreciate that, PJR. Appreciate that.
Can I deny it? No, because it's an evolution. We've been trained into short-termism. Oh, that happened 30 seconds ago, not relevant anymore. But I'm telling you, when you step back and you take a longer term view, what you see is very, very different. So have I been talking? Heck yeah, I've been talking about Zimbabwe since 2006. I've been doing these videos since 2015. But of course, we didn't talk about the ZIG then, but we did talk about the various entities. And I mean, this is a ZIM. This is a Zimbabwe dollar. This is a Zimbabwe dollar. This is not a ZIG, right? But it's all the same thing. So, yeah, because the person, on average, people need to hear the same thing at least 7 times before it even begins to sink in and make any sense. And so, yeah, I believe in being very redundant because I want to make sure that you understand what I'm trying to tell you at a deeper and deeper level as we move through this whole process. And the march toward the end of the currency's life cycle started back in 1913. When do you want me to start? Yesterday? If you actually, there's a great example of this too, which is, and we are going to work out how I can do this and show you what I'm talking about at the same time. But look at the GLD, right? That's a gold ETF. So Wall Street tells you if you buy that, you're buying gold. But no, you're not. You're buying a trust, a share of a trust. That's all you're buying, and it's a diminishing asset. But if you look at it just in a very short term, you'll see and put in, you can go, anybody can do this because this part of it is free, stockcharts.com. Okay? Stockcharts.com. In the lower right-hand corner of the main chart, you're going to see something that says additional preferences or something like that. You pull up what's called a relative performance chart, a perf chart, okay? And then in there, you put the $sign GOLD, that represents the spot gold market, and then you put a comma and you put GLD. When you look at it short term, they absolutely overlay each other because the goal of GLD is to mimic the spot market. But if you go back, which you can do, and take it all the way back to the beginning, what you see is that that line that on the short term is right on top of each other starts to grow wider and wider and wider and wider because they're selling off their gold and SLV, same thing with silver, assets to pay those ongoing hidden fees. So, yep, you're right. I talk about this stuff over and over and over again. It is a broken record. I know I am. Just going deeper and deeper and deeper and trying to show you where we are in this trend cycle. Because if you can learn how to recognize the patterns, then you will understand, regardless of what anybody says, of where we really are in this trend cycle, and therefore what is the next most likely outcome. Then you can get into position to protect yourself and take advantage of it. It's not rocket science. It's actually really, really simple. But yes, I am very redundant. And thank you for defending me. I really do appreciate it. But together we're a lot stronger, aren't we? Right? Because as there's always going to be somebody going, oh no, what do you want that for? The central bankers don't want you to buy it at the same time that they're buying more gold than they ever have. Do you think they might be lying to you? I think they know that in Zimbabwe now, don't they? And by the way, we just broke our record of views during this live. Thank you so much to the 1,000 people watching this.
Thank you so much, everyone.
How happy.
Thank you so much, guys.
Oh, we really, really appreciate it. It's so important. I love to take your questions live. It is my favorite day of the week. It really is. This moment, because I get to spend it with you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's get it even more, even more. And I can't wait until we are ready to do these with a live studio audience. We're not ready yet, but we do have the space to do it. And we'll let you know, and then you can get tickets if you live in Phoenix or you're anywhere near here or you're coming out to visit, and then you can come to the studio live. Yay. Okay. And let's see. Not sure. Oh, what is your take on glint gold? Well, I met Jason, and he's actually a pretty impressive young man. I haven't really, and I know that they ran into some kind of reporting trouble or what have you. I haven't really looked since then. So I don't know, but I will look at it. But I do like Jason Cummings. I will say that. I will say that. I just haven't. And this pen. It's not working. Thank you. Okay, I'll take a look at it and come back and talk about it next week. And Bogdan asks, Lynette, are you familiar with the AMC GME situation? So you're talking about the theaters, right? The situation of illegal naked shorting. So that would be, well, I don't know that it's necessarily illegal because certainly Wall Street can short, in other words, sell something that they do not own to push the price down. And I am going to come back to this in a second. So shorting, unless it is declared, and that does happen when a lot of it goes on, I don't know that it's necessarily illegal, but removal of the buy button to buy those stock. Oh, the situation, no, I am not, but let me take a look at it. Everyday spoofing of the stock. Okay, well, I'll take a look at that and come back. I think we've got some things to discuss next week, but what I do want to say to this AMC GME is that what a lot of is also happening, and I'm like 99.3% sure that AMC is doing this, where they are taking out from current debt holders that took on that debt that was backed by the number of theaters or popcorn or whatever the backing was for that bond. They're taking it out of that old bond because they have to take on more debt instead of the old debt, and they're moving those assets away from debt collectors in the original bonds and then using that as collateral for the new debt basically screwing the old debt holders. I did a whole piece on that. Can you pull that link? And I don't know that it was necessarily that I brought AMC up in there, but I'm like 99.3% sure that AMC was doing that kind of shenanigans too. So there's all sorts of shenanigans that can happen when you have intangible assets, right? If you don't hold it, you don't own it. Everything is a contract. Everything is counterparty risk. Gold is the only financial asset that runs no counterparty risk. So I'll take a look at the naked short selling, but it's
Yeah,
a game.
and kind of an interesting situation, I believe.
And so make
this,
sure you
I'll put the
mark
link.
that down.
Absolutely, I'll put the link
because
there.
I won't remember if I don't do that.
Kind of interesting situation with Bogdan. I believe he's also, or he or she is mentioning, is that they took away the sell button.
Well, that's what they're saying.
But we
I've
actually experienced that was all over the news for a while.
Well, if they take away the sell button, then it's not illegal. It's been legally approved.
Correct. So basically, what they were saying was there's so much volatility in this one share, these couple shares, that we're going to stop trading for the day. Right.
Well,
so
they
as
can halt
these,
trading
as
on
these,
any
as
assets
the,
that's over,
everyone's
that
getting
is
richer
more
and richer,
volatile.
and we are kind
Right.
of stuck here without being able to sell our shares.
Correct.
Of which we planned for. Yeah. So I think that's the situation you're referring to, and we'll definitely take a look at it.
Maybe so. Yeah,
Yeah.
we will definitely take a look at it.
When it did happen, I was actually trying to.
Yeah. Well, you should brought it up then. They're my eyes. You're my eyes. I mean, if you see something, send it into questions@LynetteZang.com and give me a heads up, because honest to goodness, I have 2 eyes, but I do have a whole team and we're all paying attention. Be part of the team. Let me know what you want me to look at and I'll look at it. I will. May take me a minute to get there, but I promise I will get there. Do we have more questions?
Yeah. Just real quick, Cryptonomics.
I see something
The reason
with lots
why.
of hearts. What's that?
Oh, that's just everyone kind of commenting in the chat.
Happy.
Oh,
Yeah, so
okay, good.
lots of
Good.
love,
I
lots of
like
love.
that.
The camera guy has a better
see
mic
that.
because I'm closer. Technically, if I get way back here, you can't even hear me, but I'm basically sitting on top of the mic, so that's why it sounds better. Sorry,
Just
we're
wait,
working on it.
because-
Don't worry.
Right, in the office, the TI has begun, and we are going to have the most amazing studios, plural, in there, and all the sound will be better, the lighting, everything is going to be better. This is just my home studio. So we're getting there. I can't tell you when, but
Yeah, sorry, Cryptonomics. I hear it too. Don't worry. When I edit this stuff, it's like, oh gosh, I have a better voice.
should I put that down?
Yeah, you know what it is we just need to get something like this a little bit closer to your face, so that way it sounds really deep,
Do
kind
we
of like
want
a
to
podcast voice.
get one that's
We're-
a stand?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay,
Remember
well,
last
we'll
time we
do
did that? At
Yeah.
we ended up doing the stream on a phone. Remember?
Yeah, I actually do remember that. That was fun.
And PGR, real quickly, he's kind of they're kind of trolling a little bit, which is fine. I like the banter. Okay, so I'm not kicking you out of the chat because I kind of like the banter, and you saying
and
something.
You can say anything.
Yeah, you saying something to the effect of, imagine you buying gold at 2,700. It's a bit late to get in. What do you think about that, Lynette? It's a bit late to get into gold.
I think that it is critically important for everybody to understand the true fundamental value of every single asset and every single instrument. And it could be gold, it could be stocks, it could be real estate, it could be anything. Not the market price, but what was it supposed to do? What's its value relative to its most important function for its creators? Let's talk about gold, right? Because they created this stuff to mimic sound money, but they built inflation into this. So again, I go back to the Fred, and you guys, if you said you could only work with one website, that would probably be the one that I would choose. And if you said I could only work with one chart, then the purchasing power chart is the one that I would probably use. And that's because I can tell the whole story of the currency's life cycle on that one chart. So the first thing to do is look at, according to the Federal Reserve, what that left-hand scale is, and down at the bottom is a big fat 0. And 100% of the time, over 4,800 times, this fiat money experiment has ended up the same way. The true value of this stuff is 0. So if you can only convert your stocks, your cryptos, your bonds, whatever it is, into dollars or euros or yen, and they go to 0 like we're seeing in Zimbabwe right now, what do you have? You have nothing. You're going to have 10 trillion and it doesn't mean anything. But gold is the flip side of that coin, right? So how is money created in this system? It's created by debt. Okay, well, how much debt is there? Well, it's kind of hard to tell you exactly because they kind of hide it all over the place. But the last time I checked, the IFF said it was $313 trillion. Okay. There's an unlimited amount of debt. There's a finite amount of gold. So to get the true fundamental value of an ounce of gold, not what Wall Street says, because their job is not real price discovery. Their job is to lie. You simply divide all of the debt by all of the gold that is known to exist. Because, again, gold is indestructible. It's recoverable. And we can account for 98% of all of the gold that has ever been mined. So that's how you get it. The fundamental value of an ounce of gold, were they to do the overnight revaluation like Zimbabwe did, and they were to do it on a one-to-one basis, on a global basis, because you can look at country to country, but this is global, so that's what I look at. This is worth more than 40,000 bucks. So a spot at 2,700 or 5,000 or 10,000 or 30,000, it's a bargain. It's on sale. Do central banks want you to hold gold outside of the system? No, they do not, because then they cannot inflate its value away. It's that simple. So 27, it's a bargain. You just keep stacking. Keep stacking. That's what central banks are doing. And who knows more about what they're doing to the money than those that are actually doing it. Chris Willis asks, hasn't gold outperformed Bitcoin recently? And as I understand it, Bitcoin is not keeping up with crypto evolution and will be left behind. I don't know much about crypto though. Genuine question. Bitcoin actually, and I happen to have one that they've created in tangible form because it's intangible. What color is that? Looks like gold to me, doesn't it? Because they want you to believe when they even brought it out, and any of the cryptocurrencies, the image that they portray is gold, silver, or platinum, right? Because they want you to believe that it's as good as gold. It's not, and it's sold to you as digital gold. If you can't convert it into the physical metal, it means absolutely nothing. They're doing asset-backed cryptos. If you can't convert it, it means absolutely nothing. So it is, today, I don't know, because honestly, I watch Bitcoin, but I don't pay a ton of attention to it. I read more of the reports. Earlier today when I was looking at it, I saw spot because of what's happening geopolitically. That jumped, I think 37 bucks was the last time that I saw it, where Bitcoin was down, I think about 16 or 1700 bucks. It's a risk asset. It's not proven. It only came out in 2009. It hasn't been tested. Gold's been around as money for 6,000 years. It's been tested over 4,800 times. I'm not saying that digital currencies are not here to stay. And I'm not saying that the digital economy is not here to stay. But I am going to tell you that makes owning gold and silver outside of the system in your possession that much more important. Because as we've experienced, I mean, yesterday Verizon was down. I don't know if any of you experienced that. Maybe you want to say something in the comments, but I know that my phone was on SOS until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, right? It wasn't all that long ago where we had that major global glitch and airlines were stuck and hospitals were stuck. And, so the challenge is that if you don't hold it, you don't own it. Have a diversified portfolio. I'm not saying don't have that. If that's your level of comfort, rock and roll hoochie coo. I can't tell you what to do. I can tell you what I'm doing for myself. And by the way, that's integrity. Am I going to tell you to go buy stocks if I don't own one share of stock? And I do consider myself a technician. I know how to read a chart and a map. I was a stockbroker. I was a banker. I get it. But because I understand currency life cycles, which I've studied since 1987, I also know what the patterns look like at the end of that life cycle, and that's where we are. So what I'm trying to do is help you get to safety, help build this community, and help have a seat at the table of the new monetary system. If we don't, pardon me, we're screwed. I mean, it is that simple. And that's why gold and silver. Okay. After the reset, can dealers purchase my gold for cash without going broke? I am asking in order to cash out my gold to pay off my mortgage. Well, the reality is there's a very strong global network because of all of the different places that gold is used. And so, no, dealers won't go broke because they're purchasing your gold. There's that demand there, and we have lots and lots and lots of history, because when people really get, like in Zimbabwe, people really get that the ZiG has no value. They wouldn't adopt it because they didn't trust the government. They didn't trust the central bank, because since 2006, here's a new currency. This will work. Here, we're going to do this overnight revaluation. This will work. Well, it never does, because they don't ever change their behavior. So, no, dealers won't go broke. Wholesalers won't go broke. The demand will go up just like it did during the Depression, just like it is in Zimbabwe, just like it is all around the world, just like the central banks are buying it. So, no, you're going to be cashing out your gold to pay off your mortgage. I will tell you when I'm doing that, I'm not going to wait. Right? Just keep in mind, what you want to do is as soon as they do that overnight devaluation, like if you had a fixed rate mortgage in Zimbabwe on the 26th and you had it on the 27th, sell your gold, pay off your mortgage. What might have taken you 10 or 20 ounces would take you 44% less now, right? So that's how we do it. I will let you know when I'm doing it, but I'm not going to wait, even though on average there's about a 9-month window. Why play with it? I can't tell you what it's exactly going to be, but I can tell you once we're there, let's take advantage of it and pay that debt off with dollars that have absolutely zero value. And I will, because they keep pushing me. So I will comply. I'll do a video soon on actually how I bought my house using gold.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Because that's what I did. And I do have a small mortgage on it because I want to execute the rest of the strategy. But I did have gold for my down payment to get me into this house, etc. We'll be talking about that.
This question kind of feeds off the previous question.
Okay, and R. Kolaf asks, not during Q&A or possibly on a separate video, do a deep dive into what an overnight reset might look like in the USA, lopping off zeros overnight, the next day, week after a reset. Thanks. I think I kind of just did that, but I will make sure that you have that.
Absolutely.
Okay, and we'll do that. Thank you.
And this is the last question for today.
Okay, and Angela Barnes asks, people need to know what dollar cost averaging is. Gold has never gone down and stayed down, has it? No, it's never gone down and stayed down. So dollar cost averaging is that you just continue to stack. If the price dips, you're buying more. If the price rises, if you're doing it the same amount, you're buying a little less. But no matter what, you continue to stack, and then overall, your average cost would be lower because you are continuing to buy into the dip. And no, it hasn't stayed down at all. And in fact, that's how you know that it's in a positive trend, because when you look on the chart, the long-term graph, look at it, what you will clearly see are higher and higher and higher lows. And if you keep getting higher lows, I guarantee you, you will get higher highs. So that's a guarantee that I can give you, and I can also give you this guarantee, and that is that at some point, all assets, all instruments go to their fundamental value. Can't tell you exactly the moment when, but I can tell you unequivocally that will happen, period. The dollar will go to zero, just like the ZIG is on its way again to zero, because that's its fundamental value. And gold is going to its fundamental value, as will silver. So, wow, this was a great one today, and I really appreciate, oh my God, 1,000 consecutive views. That is so good, because I really love these lives, and I want to do more of them, and I love the questions. So thank you so much for your support. Let's come together in community. We can make a difference, right? Yeah, just one of us, what can we do? Nothing. But coming together, we got a shot. We got a shot. And I challenge you to look in the mirror and say, if not me, who? And if not now, when? Because I'm saying it's you and it's me and it's all of us coming together to make a positive difference for a lot of people. And until next we meet, please be careful out there. Bye-bye.